All right, it is 8 o'clock, so let's get started, shall we? Welcome back. This is our first night of reading from a new project. We are going to be going back to a classic of classics, the Odyssey, tonight, by Homer, one of the great Greek authors and poets. I guess this is an epic poem. Received this request through one of my Discord servers, a friend over there, and was more than happy to jump on the bandwagon. Apparently, this is coming back into vogue. There's I think there's a play and a movie about it again coming back into light. So we'll join in on the hype and go back to the classic of all classics. This is one of my favorites. I read it in school, and when I was in school, kind of you expect it, but you don't really soak it in when you're made to read something like this. And when I got done with school and was browsing the shelves at a Barnes & Noble or a Borders or somewhere down the line years later, picked up a copy and gave it another read through, and man, it hits different when you aren't being made to read it. So hopefully we can share some of that wonder and enjoyment and awe as we go through it together one more time. Not for the last time, just one more time. There's always room for one more. And yeah, I agree. This is probably Homer's best. The Iliad is great, but it just doesn't have the same gravitas to it that this does. This captures the wonder of exploration and the journey and the great homecomings and everything. This kind of hits all the literary beats that really established what literary beats are going to be in the future. If you look at great fantasy, there's so much of it that draws inspiration from, or you see themes that were visited in the Odyssey. So this is, a lot of it may seem familiar. You may see certain story beats or hero's tale epithets or things like that, because they started here. This is where we really started to really get into literary theory. There are things that are older than this. You can look back to the Epic of Gilgamesh and things like that, but as far as Western media goes, this is really where it all began. So, let's jump into it and really just have some fun. This should be, well, okay, I won't necessarily call it an easier read than Thoreau was, because, let's be honest, it is an ancient Greek play, or ancient Greek epic poem. It has been translated and retranslated and localized a million times over the years, and this is one of the better localizations I've found, the better translations. But in the nature of all translations of these, there's always some sort of lofty stint given to it. So the language used can sometimes be a little obscure or obtuse just because the translator decided that that's the way it felt best. And that's not even to begin to get onto the mess and twists and turns and tangles of the names and the pantheon and everything. Speaking of pantheon, I was going through I've had to go through a few different versions of this to find a translation that I liked for the ebook, because while I do have a personal paper copy, it doesn't really lend itself well to reading on stream from the paper copy. I've got it here, but to read through it, I would definitely be looking down the entire time, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So, going back to the ebooks, there's nothing wrong with that. As much as I would like to read paper, it just, with my setup here, it just doesn't work. But anyway, as I was looking through the different versions of the ebook, the different translations, I ran into one that was really playing it fast and loose with some of the pantheon names. I saw within the first chapter that they were interposing both Greek and Roman names for the gods, and I'm like, you really need to just pick one. Just pick one. Please don't swap them around. So that one got thrown to the bin. For some reason, it was the most popular version of this on Gutenberg, and I am disappointed that as many people have downloaded it and have accepted that as the best version as they have. This one is more consistent, and I like it so far. So, let's go ahead and jump into it. That's enough preamble. Got the drink, the cats are around, we got a good book. So let's go ahead and start this journey through the Odyssey together. And so, from Book 1. In a council of the gods, Poseidon absent, Pallas procureth an order for the restitution of Odysseus, and appearing to his son Telemachus, in human shape, adviseth him to complain to the wooers before the council of the people, and then go to Pylos and Sparta to inquire about his father. Tell me, Muse, of that man, so ready at need, who wandered far and wide, after he had sacked the sacred citadel of Troy, and many were the men whose towns he saw and whose mind he learnt, yea, and many the woes he suffered in his heart upon the deep, striving to win his own life and the return of his company. Nay, but even so he saved not his company, though he desire it sore. For through the blindness of their own hearts they perished, fools who devoured the oxen of Helios Hyperion, but the god took from them their day of returning. Of these things, goddess, daughter of Zeus, whencesoever thou hast heard thereof, declare thou even unto us. Now all the rest, as many as fled from sheer destruction, were at home, and had escaped both war and sea. But Odysseus only, craving for his wife and for his homeward path, the lady nymph Calypso held that fair goddess in her hollow caves, longing to have him for her lord. But when now the year had come in the courses of the seasons, wherein the gods had ordained that he should return home to Ithaca, not even there was he quit of labors, not even among his own, but all gods had pity on him, save Poseidon, who raged continually against godlike Odysseus, till he came to his own country. Howbeit Poseidon had now departed for the distant Ethiopians, the Ethiopians that are sundered in twain, the uttermost of men, abiding somewhere where Hyperion sinks, and some where he rises. There he looked to receive his hecatomb of bulls and rams. There he made merry, sitting at the feast. But the other gods were gathered in the halls of Olympian Zeus. Then, among them, the father of gods and men began to speak, for he bethought him in his heart of noble Aegisthus, whom the son of Agamemnon, far famed Orestes, slew. Thinking upon him, he spake out among the immortals. Lo you now, how vainly mortal men do blame the gods. For of us, they say, comes evil, whereas they even of themselves, through the blindness of their own hearts, have sorrows beyond that which is ordained, even as of late Aegisthus, beyond that which was ordained, took to him the wedded wife of the son of Atreus, and killed her lord on his return, and that with sheer doom before his eyes, since we had warned him by the embassy of Hermes, the keen-sighted, the slayer of Argos, that he should neither kill the man nor woo his wife. For the son of Atreus shall be avenged by the hand of Orestes, so soon as he shall come to man's estate and long for his own country. So spake Hermes. Yet he prevailed not on the heart of Aegisthus, for all his goodwill. But now hath he paid one price for all. And the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, answered him, saying, O father, our father Cronides, throned in the highest, that man assuredly lies in a death that is his due. So perish likewise all who work such deeds. But my heart is rent for wise Odysseus, that hapless one, who far from his friends this long while suffereth affliction in a sea-girt isle. Where is the navel of the sea, a woodland isle, and therein a goddess hath her habitation, the daughter of the wizard Atlas, who knows the depth of every sea, and himself upholds the tall pillars which keep earth and sky asunder. His daughter it is that holds the hapless man in sorrow, and ever with soft and guileful tales she is wooing him to forgetfulness of Ithaca. But Odysseus, yearning to see if it were but the smoke leap upwards from his own land, hath a desire to die. As for thee, thine heart regardeth it not at all, Olympian. What? Did not Odysseus by the ships of the Argives give thee free offering of sacrifice in the wide Trojan land? Wherefore wast thou then so wroth with him, O Zeus? And Zeus, the cloud-gatherer, answered her, and said, My child, what word hath escaped the door of thy lips? Yea, how should I forget divine Odysseus, who in understanding is beyond mortals, and beyond all men hath done sacrifice to the deathless gods, who keep the wide heaven. Nay, but it is Poseidon, the girdler of the earth, that hath been wroth continually with quenchless anger, for the Cyclops' sake whom he blinded of his eye, even godlike Polyphemus, whose power is the mightiest among all the Cyclopes. His mother was the nymph Thosa, daughter of Phorcys, lord of the unharvested sea, and in the hollow cave she lay with Poseidon. From that day forth Poseidon the earth-shaker doth not indeed slay Odysseus, but driveth him wandering from his own country. But come, let us here one and all take good counsel as touching his returning, that he may be got home. So shall Poseidon let go his displeasure, for he will in no wise be able to strive alone against all, in despite of all the deathless gods. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, answered him, and said, O father, our father Cronades, throned in the highest, if indeed this thing is now well-pleasing to the blessed gods, that wise Odysseus should return to his own home, let us then speed Hermes the messenger, the slayer of Argos, to the island of Ogygia. There, with all speed, let him declare to the lady of the braided tresses our unerring counsel, even the return of the patient Odysseus, that so he may come to his home. But as for me, I will go to Ithaca, that I may rouse his son yet the more, planting might in his heart, to call an assembly of the long-haired Achaeans, and speak out to all the wooers who slaughter continually the sheep of his thronging flocks, and his kine with trailing feet and shambling gait. And I will guide him to Sparta, and to sandy Pylos, to seek tidings of his dear father's return, if peradventure he may hear thereof, and that so he may be had in good report among men. She spake, and bound beneath her feet her lovely golden sandals that wax not old, and bare her alike over the wet sea and over the limitless land, swift as the breath of the wind. And she seized her doughty spear, shod with sharp bronze, weighty and huge and strong, wherewith she quells the ranks of heroes with whomsoever she is wroth. The daughter of the mighty sire. Then from the heights of Olympus she came glancing down, and she stood in the land of Ithaca, at the entry of the gate of Odysseus, on the threshold of the courtyard, holding in her hand the spear of bronze, in the semblance of a stranger, Mentes, the captain of the Taphians. And there she found the lordly wooers. Now they were taking their pleasure at draughts in front of the doors, sitting on hides of oxen, which themselves had slain. And of the henchmen and the ready squires, some were mixing for them wine and waters in bowls, and some again were washing the tables with porous sponges and were setting them forth, and others were carving flesh in plenty. And godlike Telemachus was far from the first to descry her. Was far the first. For he was sitting with a heavy heart among the wooers, dreaming on his good father, if haply he might come somewhence, and make a scattering of the wooers throughout the palace, and himself get honor and bear rule among his own possessions. Thinking thereupon, as he sat among wooers, he saw Athene, and went straight to the outer porch. For he thought it blame in his heart that a stranger should stand long at the gates, and halting nigh her, he clasped her right hand, and took from her the spear of bronze, and uttered his voice, and spake unto her winged words. I need to slow down a little bit. Hail, stranger! With us thou shalt be kindly entreated, and thereafter, when thou hast tasted meat, thou shalt tell us whereof thou hast need. Therewith he led the way, and Pallas Athene followed. And when they were now within the lofty house, he set her spear that he bore against a tall pillar, within the polished spear stand, where stood many spears besides, even those of Odysseus, of the hardy heart. And he led the goddess, and seated her on a goodly carven chair, and spread a linen cloth thereunder, and beneath was a footstool for the feet. For himself he placed an inlaid seat hard by, apart from the company of the wooers, lest the stranger should be disquieted by the noise, and should have a loathing for the meal, being come among overweening men, and also that he might ask him about his father that was gone from his house. Then a handmaid bare water for the washing of hands in a goodly golden ewer, and poured it forth over a silver basin to wash withal, and drew to their side a polished table, and a grave dame bare wheaten bread and set it by them, and laid on the board many dainties, giving freely of such things as she had by her, and a carver lifted and placed by them platters of divers kind of flesh, and nigh them he set golden bowls, and a henchman walked to and fro, pouring out to them the wine. Then in came the lordly wooers, and they sat down in rows on chairs and on high seats, and henchmen poured water on their hands, and maidservants piled wheaten bread by them in baskets, and pages crowned the bowls with drink, and they stretched forth their hands upon the good cheer spread before them. Now, when the wooers had put from them the desire of meat and drink, they minded them of other things, even of the song and dance, for these are the crown of the feast. And a henchman placed a beauteous lyre in the hands of Phemius, who was minstrel to the wooers despite his will. Yea, and as he touched the lyre, he lifted up his voice in sweet songs. Or, according to the ordinary interpretation of, it is a side note, he touched the chords in preludes. We won't read those, it's fine. But Telemachus spake unto grey-eyed Athene, holding his head close to her, that those others might not hear. Dear stranger, wilt thou of a truth be wroth at the word that I shall say? Yonder men verily care for such things as these, the lyre and song, lightly, as they that devour the livelihood of another without atonement. That man, though whose white bones, it may be, lie wasting in the rain upon the mainland, or the billow rolls them in the brine. Were but these men to see him return to Ithaca, they all would pray rather for greater speed of foot than for gain of gold and raiment. But now he hath perished. Even so, an evil doom, and for us is no comfort, no, not though any of earthly men should say that he will come again. Gone is the day of his returning. But come, declare me this, and tell me all plainly. Who art thou of the sons of men, and whence? Where is thy city? Where are they that begat thee? Say, on what manner of ship didst thou come? And how did sailors bring thee to Ithaca? And who did they avow themselves to be? For in no wise do I deem thou camest hither by land. And herein tell me true, that I may know for a surety whether thou art a newcomer, or whether thou art a guest of the house, seeing that many were the strangers that come to our house, for that he, too, had voyaged much among men. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, answered him, Yea, now, I will plainly tell thee all. I avow me to be Mentes, son of wise Anchialus, and I bear rule among the Taphians, lovers of the oar. And now I am come to shore, as thou seest, with ship and crew, sailing over the wine-dark sea, unto men of strange speech, even to Temesa, in quest of copper, and my cargo is shining iron, and there my ship is lying toward the upland, away from the city, in the harbor of Rheithron, beneath wooded Neon, and we declare ourselves to be friends one of the other, and of houses friendly, from of old. Nay, if thou wouldest be assured, go ask the old man, the hero Laertes, who they say no more comes to the city, but far away toward the upland suffers affliction, with an ancient woman for his handmaid, who sets by him meat and drink, whensoever weariness takes hold of his limbs as he creeps along the knoll of his vineyard plot. And now am I come. For verily, they said that he, thy father, was among his people, but lo, the gods withhold him from his way. For goodly Odysseus hath not yet perished on the earth, but still, methinks, he lives, and is kept on the wide deep in a sea-girt isle, and hard men constrain him, wild folk that hold him, it may be, sore against his will. But now of a truth will I utter my word of prophecy, as the immortals bring it into my heart, and as I deem it will be accomplished, though no soothsayer am I, nor skilled in the signs of birds. Henceforth, indeed, for no long while shall he be far from his own dear country, not though bonds of iron bind him. He will advise him of a way to return, for he is a man of many devices. But come, declare me this, and tell me plainly whether indeed, so tall as thou art sprung from the loins of Odysseus. Thy head surely, and they beauteous eyes are wondrous like to his, since full many a time have we held converse together ere he embarked for Troy. Whither the others, I, the bravest of the Argives, went in hollow ships. From that day forth neither have I seen Odysseus, nor he me. Then wise Telemachus answered her, and said, Yea, sir, now will I plainly tell thee all. My mother verily saith that I am his. For myself I know not, for never man yet knew of himself his own descent. Oh, that I had been the son of some blessed man, whom old age overtook among his own possessions! But now of him that is the most hapless of mortal men, his son they say that I am, and since thou dost question me hereof. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, spake unto him and said, Surely no nameless lineage have the gods ordained for thee in days to come, since Penelope bore thee so goodly a man. But come, declare me this, and tell it all plainly. What feast, nay, what rout is this? What hast thou to do therewith? Is it a clan drinking, or a wedding feast? For here we have no banquet, where each man brings his share. In such wise, flown with insolence, do they seem to me to reveal wantonly through the house. And well might any man be wroth to see so many deeds of shame, what so wise man came among them. Then wise Telemachus answered her, and said, Sir, forasmuch as thou questionest me of these things, and inquirest thereof, our house was once like to have been rich and honorable, while yet that man was among his people. But now the gods willed it otherwise, in evil purpose, who have made him pass utterly out of sight as no man ever before. Truly, I would not even for his death make so great sorrow, had he fallen among his fellows in the land of the Trojans, or in the arms of his friends, when he had wound up the clue of war. Then would the whole Achaean host have builded him a barrow, and even for his son would he have won great glory in the after days. But now the spirits of the storm have swept him away inglorious. He is gone, lost to sight and hearsay. But for me hath he left anguish and lamentation. Not henceforth is it for him alone that I mourn and weep, since the gods have wrought for me other sore distress. For all the noblest that are the princes in the isles, in Dulichium, and Same, and wooded Zacynthus, and as many as lorded in the rocky Ithaca. All these woo my mother, and waste my house. But as for her, she neither refuseth the hated bridal, nor hath the heart to make an end. So they devour and minish my house, and ere long will they make havoc likewise of myself. Then in heavy displeasure spake unto him Pallas Athene, God help thee! Thou art surely sore in need of Odysseus that is afar, to stretch forth his hands upon the shameless wooers. If he could but come now and stand at the entering in of that gate, with helmet and shield and lances twain, as mighty a man as when I first marked him in our house drinking and making merry what time he came up out of Ephyra from Ilus son of Murmerus. For even thither had Odysseus gone on his swift ship to seek a deadly drug, that he might have wherewithal to smear his bronze-shot arrows. But Ilus would in no wise give it to him, for he had in awe the ever-living gods. But my father gave it to him, for he bare him wondrous love. Oh, that Odysseus might in such strength consort with the wooers! So should they all have swift fate and bitter wedlock. Howbeit these things surely lie on the knees of the gods, whether he shall return or not, and take vengeance in his halls. But I charge thee to take counsel how thou mayest thrust forth the wooers from the hall. Come now, mark and make heed unto my words. On the morrow call the Achaean lords to the assembly, and declare thy saying to all, and take the gods to witness. As for the wooers, bid them scatter them, each one to his own. And for thy mother, if her heart is moved to marriage, let her go back to the hall of that mighty man her father, and her kinsfolk will furnish a wedding feast, and array the gifts of wooing, exceeding many, all that should go back with a daughter dearly beloved. And to thyself I will give a word of wise counsel, if perchance thou wilt hearken. Fit out a ship, the best thou hast, with 20 oarsmen, and go to inquire concerning thy father, that is long afar, if perchance any man shall tell thee aught, or if thou mayest hear the voice from Zeus, which chiefly brings tidings to men. Get thee first to Pylos, and inquire of goodly Nestor, and from thence to Sparta to Menelaus of the fair hair, for he came home the last of the mail-coated Achaeans. If thou shalt hear news of the life and of the returning of thy father, then verily thou mayest endure the wasting for yet a year. But if thou shalt hear that he is dead and gone, return then to thine own dear country, and pile his mound, and over it pay burial rites, full many as is due, and give thy mother to a husband. But when thou hast done this and made an end, thereafter take counsel in thy mind and heart, how thou mayest slay the wooers in thy halls, whether by guile or openly, for thou shouldest not carry childish thoughts, being no longer of years thereto. Or hast thou not heard what renown the goodly Orestes gat him among all men, in that he slew the slayer of his father, guileful Aegisthus, who killed his famous sire? And thou too, my friend, for I see that thou art very comely and tall, be valiant, that even men unborn may praise thee. But I will now go down to the swift ship, and to my men, who methinks chafe much at tarrying for me, and do thou thyself take heed and give ear unto my words. Then wise Telemachus answered her, saying, Sir, verily thou speakest these things out of a friendly heart, as a father to his son, and never will I forget them. But now I pray thee abide here, though eager to be gone, to the end that after thou hast bathed and had all thy heart's desire, thou mayest wend to the ship joyful in spirit, with a costly gift, and a very goodly, to be an heirloom of my giving, such as dear friends give to friends. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, answered him, Hold me now no longer, that am eager for the way. But whatsoever gift thine heart shall bid thee give me, when I am on my way back, let it be mine to carry home. Bear from thy stores a gift right goodly, and it shall bring thee the worth thereof in return. So spake she, and departed, the grey-eyed Athene. And like an eagle of the sea she flew away. But in his spirit she planted might and courage, and put him in mind of his father, yet more than heretofore. And he marked the thing, and was amazed, for he deemed that it was a god, and anon he went among the wooers, a godlike man. Now the renowned minstrel was singing to the wooers, and they sat listening in silence, and his song was of the pitiful return of the Achaeans, that Pallas Athene laid on them as they came forth from Troy. And from her upper chamber, the daughter of Icarius, wise Penelope, caught the glorious strain. And she went down the high stairs from her chamber, not alone, for two of her handmaids bare her company. Now when the fair lady had come unto the wooers, she stood by the pillar of the well-builded roof, holding up her glistening tire before her face. And a faithful maiden stood on either side of her. Then she fell a-weeping, and spake unto the divine minstrel, Phemius, since thou knowest many other charms for mortals, deeds of men and gods, which bards rehearse, some one of these do thou sing as thou sittest by them, and let them drink their wine in silence, but cease from this pitiful strain, that ever wastes my heart within my breast. Since to me, above all women, hath come a sorrow comfortless, so dear a head do I long for in constant memory, namely, that man whose fame is noised abroad from Hellas to mid-Argos. Then wise Telemachus answered her, and said, O my mother, why then dost thou grudge the sweet minstrel to gladness as his spirit moves him? It is not minstrels who are in fault, but Zeus, methinks, is in fault, who gives to men that live by bread to each one as he will. As for him, it is no blame if he sings the ill-faring of the Danaans, for men always prize that song the most, which rings newest in their ears. But let thy heart and mind endure to listen, for not Odysseus only lost in Troy the day of his returning, but many another likewise perished. Howbeit go to thy chamber, and mind thine own housewiferys, the loom and distaff, and bid thy handmaids ply their tasks. But speech shall be for men, for all but for me in chief, for mine is the lordship in the house. Then, in amaze, she went back to her chamber, for she laid up the wise saying of her son in her heart. She ascended to her upper chamber with the women her handmaids, and then was bewailing Odysseus, her dear lord, till grey-eyed Athene cast sweet sleep upon her eyelids. Now the wooers clamored throughout the shadowy halls, and each one uttered a prayer to her bedfellow, and wise Telemachus first spake among them, Wooers of my mother, men distasteful out of measure, let us feast now, and make merry, and let there be no brawling. For lo, it is a good thing to list to a minstrel just as him, just like to the gods in voice. But in the morning, let us all go to the assembly and sit us down, that I may declare my saying outright, to wit, that ye leave these halls, and busy thyselves with other feasts, eating your own substance, going in turn from house to house. But if ye deem this a likelier and a better thing, that one man's goods should perish without atonement, then waste ye as ye will, and I will call upon the everlasting gods, if haply Zeus may grant the acts of recompense be made. So should ye hereafter perish within the halls without atonement. So spake he, and all that heard him bit their lips, and marveled at Telemachus, in that he spake boldly. Then Antinous, son of Euphates, answered him, Telemachus, in very truth the gods themselves instruct thee to be proud of speech and boldly to harangue. Never may Cronion make thee king in secret Ithaca, which thing is of inheritance thy right. Then wise Telemachus answered him, and said, Antinous, wilt thou indeed be wroth at the word that I shall say? Yea, at the hand of Zeus would I be fain to take even this thing upon me. Sayest thou that this is the worst hap that could befall a man? Nay, verily, it is no ill thing to be a king. The house of such an one quickly waxeth rich, and himself is held in greater honor. Howsoever, there are many other kings of the Achaeans in secret Ithaca. Kings young and old, some one of them shall surely have the kingship since goodly Odysseus is dead. But as for me, I will be lord of our own house and thralls, that goodly Odysseus gat me with his spear. Then Eurymachus, son of Polybus, answered him, saying, Telemachus, on the knees of the gods it surely lies, that man is to be king over the Achaeans in secret Ithaca. But mayest thou keep thine own possessions, and be lord in thine own house? Never may that man come, who shall wrest from thee thy substance violently in thine own despite while Ithaca yet stands. But I would ask thee, friend, concerning the stranger, whence he is, and of what land he avows him to be. Where are his kin and his native fields? Doth he bear some tidings of thy father on his road? Or cometh he thus to speed some matter of his own? In such wise did he start up, and lo, he was gone, nor tarried he that we should know him. And yet he seemed no mean man to look upon. Then wise Telemachus answered him, and said, Eurymachus, surely the day of my father's returning hath gone by. Therefore no more do I put faith in tidings, whencesoever they may come. Neither have I regard unto any divination, whereof my mother may inquire at the lips of a diviner, when she hath bidden him to the hall. But as for that man, he is a friend of my house from Tophos, and he avows him to be Mentes, son of wise Anchialus, and he hath lordship among the Taphians, lovers of the oar. So spake Telemachus, but in his heart he knew the deathless goddess. Now the wooers turned them to the dance, and the delightsome song, and made merry, and waited till evening should come on. And as they made merry, dusk evening came upon them. Then they went each one to his own house to lie down to rest. But Telemachus, where his chamber was builded high up in the fair court, in a place with wide prospect, thither betook him to his bed, pondering many thoughts in his mind. And with him went trusty Euryclea, and bare for him torches burning. She was the daughter of Ops, son of Pasenor, and Laertes bought her on a time when his wealth, while as yet she was in her first youth, and gave for her the worth of 20 oxen. And he honored her, even as he honored his dear wife in the halls. But he never lay with her, for he shunned the wrath of his lady. She went with Telemachus, and bare for him the burning torches, and of all the women of the household she loved him most, and she had nursed him when a little one. Then he opened the doors of the well-builded chamber, and sat him on the bed, and took off his soft doublet, and put it in the wise old woman's hands. So she folded the doublet and smoothed it, and hung it on a pin by the jointed bedstead, and went forth on her way from the room, and pulled to the door with the silver handle, and drew home the bar with the thong. There, all night through, wrapped in a fleece of wool, he meditated in his heart upon the journey that Athene had showed him. That brings us to the end of book 1. So this is setting the backstory, and there's a lot of unsaid backstory in this as well. Most people are probably aware, but just getting it out there. The Odyssey is basically a sequel to the Iliad. It's the follow-up, where the Iliad is the Trojan War. The Odyssey is about the return home, the aftermath, where all of the other invading army that sacked Troy have returned home to their own lands. But Odysseus was held up on the way, and so it was that the gods themselves decided that, you know what, maybe we should send him home. It's been long enough, right? And so Athena, which in this translation is Athene, I may slip and call her Athena. It's either way, they both work. Was kind of taking chief representative there, really pushing to get Odysseus home, and herself went to visit Odysseus' family, his home and son and wife, and to sort of hint to maybe not give up hope just yet. But all the while that she was there, she was in disguise as an older man, but it seems Telemachus saw through it. Alright, let's carry on. We got these chapters are a little bit easier to get through than Thoreau, so I don't mind shotgunning them. Boom, boom, boom. And so, Book 2. Telemachus complains in vain, and borrowing a ship, goes secretly to Pylos by night, and how he was there received. Now, so soon as early dawn shone forth, the rosy-fingered, the dear son of Odysseus, gat him up from his bed, and put on his raiment, and cast his sharp sword about his shoulder, and beneath his smooth feet he bound his goodly sandals, and stepped forth from his chamber in presence like a god. And straightway he bade to a clear-voiced heralds to call the long-haired Achaeans to the assembly. And the heralds called the gathering, and the Achaeans were assembled quickly. Now when they were gathered and came together, he went on his way to the assembly, holding in his hand a spear of bronze. Not alone he went, for 2 swift hounds bare him company. Then Athene shed on him a wondrous grace, and all the people marveled at him as he came. And he sat him in his father's seat, and the elders gave place to him. Then the lord Aegyptus spake among them first. Bowed was he with age, and skilled in things past number. Now for this reason he spake, that his dear son, the warrior Antiphus, had gone in the hollow ships to Ilios of the goodly steeds. But the savage Cyclops slew him in his hollow cave, and made of him then his latest meal. 3 other sons of Aegyptus had, and one consorted with the wooers, namely Eurynomus. But 2 continued in their father's fields. Yet even so forgat he not that son, still mourning and sorrowing. So weeping, for his sake, he made harangue and spake among them. Hearken now to me, ye men of Ithaca, to the word that I shall say. Never hath our assembly or session here since the day that goodly Odysseus departed in the hollow ships. And now, who has minded thus to assemble us? On what man hath such sore need come, of the young men or of the elder born? Hath he heard some tidings of the host now returning, which he might plainly declare to us, for that he first learned thereof, or doth he show forth and tell some other matter of the commonweal? Methinks he is a true man. Good luck be with him. Zeus vouchsafe him such good things in his return, even all his heart's desire. So spake he. The dear son of Odysseus was glad at the omen of the word, nor sat he now much longer, but he burned to speak, and he stood in mid-assembly, and the herald Paesanor, skilled in sage counsels, placed the staff in his hands. Then he spake, accosting the old man first. Old man, he is not far off, and soon shalt thou know it for thyself, he who called the folk together, even I. For sorrow hath come to me in chief. Neither have I heard of any tidings of the host now returning, which I may plainly declare to you. For that I first learned thereof, neither do I show forth or tell any other matter of the commonweal, but mine own need. For that evil hath befallen my house, a double woe. First, I have lost my noble sire, who sometime was king among you here, and was gentle as a father. And now is there an evil yet greater far, which surely shall soon make grievous havoc of my whole house, and ruin all my livelihood. My mother did certain wooers beset sore against her will. Even the sons of those men that here are the noblest. They are too craven to go to the house of her father Icarius, that he may himself set the bride price for his daughter, and bestow her on whom he will, even on him who finds favor in his sight. But they, resorting to our house day by day, sacrifice oxen and sheep and fat goats, and keep revel, and drink the dark wine recklessly, and lo, our great wealth is wasted. For there is no man now alive, such as Odysseus was, to keep ruin from the house. As for me, I am nowise strong like him to ward mine own. Verily, to the end of my days shall I be a weakling, and all unskilled in prowess. Truly I would defend me, but strength were mine. For deeds past sufferance have now been wrought, and now my house is wasted utterly beyond pretense of right. Resent it in your own hearts, and have regard to your neighbors who dwell round, and tremble ye at the anger of the gods, lest haply they turn upon you in wrath at your evil deeds. I pray you, by Olympian Zeus and by Themis, who looseth and gathereth the meetings of men, let be, my friends, and leave me alone to waste in bitter grief, unless it so be that my father, the good Odysseus, out of evil heart wrought harm to the goodly grieved Achaeans, in acquittance whereof ye know, ye now work me harm out of evil hearts, and spur on these men. Better for me that ye yourselves should eat up my treasures and my flocks. Were ye so to devour them, ere long would some recompense be made. For we would urge our plea throughout the town, begging back our substance, until all should be restored. But now, without remedy are the pains that ye lay up in my heart. So spake he in truth, and dashed the staff to the ground, and brake forth in tears, and pity fell on all the people. Then all the others held their peace, and none had the heart to answer Telemachus with harsh words. But Antinous alone made answer, saying, Telemachus, proud of speech and unrestrained in fury, what is this thou hast said to put us to shame, and wouldst fasten on us reproach? Behold, the fault is not in the Achaean wooers, but in thine own mother, for she is the craftiest of women. For it is now the 3rd year, and the 4th is fast going by, since she began to deceive the minds of the Achaeans in their breasts. She gives hope to all, and makes promises to every man, and sends them messages, but her mind is set on other things. And she hath devised in her heart this wile besides. She set up in her halls a mighty web, a fine of woof and very wide, whereat she would weave, and anon she spake among us. Ye princely youths, my wooers, now that the goodly Odysseus is dead, do ye abide patiently, how eager soever to speed on this marriage of mine, till I finish the robe. I would not that the threads perish to no avail, even this shroud for the hero Laertes, against the day when the ruinous doom shall bring him low, of death that lays men at their lengths. So shall none of the Achaean women in the land count it blame in me, as well might be, were he to lie without a winding sheet, a man that had gotten great possessions. So spake she, and our high hearts consented thereto. So then in the daytime she would weave the mighty web, and in the night unravel the same, when she had let the torches by her. Thus for the space of 3 years she hid the thing by craft, and beguiled the minds of the Achaeans. But when the 4th year arrived, and the seasons came round, then at the last one of her women who knew all declared it, and we found her unraveling the splendid web. Thus she finished it, perforce and sore against her will. But as for thee, the wooers make thee answer thus, that thou mayest know it in thine own heart, thou and all the Achaeans. Send away thy mother, and bid her to be married to whomsoever her father commands, and whoso is well-pleasing unto her. But if she will continue for long to vex the sons of the Achaeans, pondering in her heart those things that Athene hath given her beyond women, knowledge of all fair handiwork, yea, and cunning wit, and wiles, so be it. Such wiles as her have never yet heard that any even of the women of old did know. Of those that aforetime were fair tressed, the Achaean ladies, Tyro and Alcmene, and Mycenae, with the brightest crown. Not one of these in the imaginations of their hearts was like unto Penelope. Yet herein, at least, her imagining was not good. For in despite of her, the wooers will devour thy living and thy substance, so long as she is steadfast in such purpose as the gods now put within her breast. Great renown for herself she winneth, but for thee regret for thy much livelihood. But we will neither go to our own lands, nor otherwhere, till she marry that man whom she will of the Achaeans. Then wise Telemachus answered him, saying, Antinous, I may in no wise thrust forth from the house, against her will, the woman that bare me, that reared me, while as for my father he is abroad on the earth, whether he be alive or dead. Moreover, it is hard for me to make heavy restitution to Icarius, as needs I must, if of mine own will I send my mother away. For I shall have evil at his hand, at the hand of her father, and some god will give me more besides. For my mother will call down the dire avengers as she departs from the house, and I shall have blame of men. Surely then I will never speak this word, Nay, if your own heart, even yours, is indignant, quit ye my halls, and busy yourself with other feasts, eating your own substance, and going in turn from house to house. But if ye deem this a likelier and a better thing, that one man's goods should perish without atonement, then waste ye as ye will. I will call upon the everlasting gods, if haply Zeus may grant that acts of recompense be made, so should ye hereafter perish in the halls without atonement. So spake Telemachus, and in answer to his prayer did Zeus, of the far-borne voice, send forth 2 eagles in flight, from on high from the mountain crest. A while they flew, as fleet as the blasts of the wind, side by side, with straining of their pinions. But when they had now reached the mid-assembly, the place of many voices, there they wheeled about and flapped their strong wings, and looked down upon the heads of all. The destruction was in their gaze. Then tore they with their talons each the other's cheeks and neck on every side, and so sped to the right across the dwellings and the city of the people. And the men marveled at the birds when they had sight of them, and pondered in their hearts the things that should come to pass. Yea, and the old man, Lord Halitherses, son of Master, spake among them, for he excelled his peers in knowledge of birds, and in uttering words of fate. With good will he made a harangue, and spake among them. Hearken to me now, ye men of Ithaca, to the word that I shall say, and mainly to the wooers do I show forth and tell these things, seeing that a mighty woe is rolling upon them. For Odysseus shall not long be away from his friends, nay, even now it may be, he is near, and sowing the seeds of death and fate for these men, every one. And he will be a bane to many another likewise of us who dwell in clear-seen Ithaca. But ere long that falls out, let us advise how we may make an end of their mischief. Yea, let them of their own selves make an end, for this is the better way for them, as will soon be seen. For I prophesy not as one unproved, but with sure knowledge. Verily I say, that for him all things now are come to pass, even as I told him, what time the Argives embarked for Ilios, and with them went the wise Odysseus. I said that after sore affliction, with the loss of all his company, unknown to all, in the 20th year he should come home, and behold, all these things now have an end. And Eurymachus, son of Polybus, answered him, saying, Go now, old man, get thee home and prophesy to thine own children, lest haply they suffer harm hereafter. But herein am I a far better prophet than thou. Howbeit there be many birds that fly to and fro under the sun's rays, but all are not birds of fate. Now as for Odysseus, he hath perished far away, as would that thou too with him hadst been cut off. So wouldst thou not have babbled thus much prophecy, nor wouldst thou hound on Telemachus, that is already angered, expecting a gift for thy house, if perchance he may vouchsafe thee aught. But now will I speak out, and my word shall surely be accomplished. If thou that knowest much lore from of old shalt beguile with words a younger man, and rouse him to indignation, first it shall be a great grief to him, and yet he can count on no aid from those who hear him. While upon thee, old man, we will lay a fine, that thou mayest pay it and chafe at heart, and sore pain shall be thine. And I myself will give a word of counsel to Telemachus in presence of you all. Let him command his mother to return to her father's house, and her kinsfolk will furnish a wedding feast, and array the gifts of wooing, exceeding many, all that should go back with a daughter dearly beloved. For ere that, I trow, we sons of the Achaeans will not cease from our rough wooing, since, come what may, we fear not any man, no, not Telemachus, full of words though he may be, nor soothsaying do we need. Whereof thou, old man, pratest idly, and art hated yet the more. His substance too shall be woefully devoured, nor shall recompense ever be made, so long as she shall put off the Achaeans in the matter of her marriage, while we in expectation from day to day vie one with another for the prize of her perfection. Nor go we after other women, whom it were meet that we should each one wed. Then wise Telemachus answered him, saying, Eurymachus, and ye others, that are lordly wooers, I entreat you no more concerning this, nor speak thereof, for the gods have knowledge of it now, and all the Achaeans. But come, give me a swift ship and 20 men, who shall accomplish for me my voyage to and fro, and I will go to Sparta, and to sandy Pylos to inquire concerning the return of my father that is so long afar. If perchance any man shall tell me aught, or if I may hear the voice from Zeus that chiefly brings tidings to men, if I shall hear news of the life and the returning of my father, then verily I may endure the wasting for yet a year. But if I shall hear that he is dead and gone, let me then return to my own dear country and pile his mound, and over it pay burial rites full many as is due, and I will give my mother to a husband." So with that word, he sat him down. Then in the midst uprose Mentor, companion of noble Odysseus. He it was to whom Odysseus, as he departed in the fleet, had given the charge over all his house, that it should obey the old man, and that he should keep all things safe. With good will he now made harangue and spake among them. "Hearken to me now, ye men of Ithaca, to the word that I shall say. Henceforth let not any sceptred king be kind and gentle with all his heart, nor minded to do righteously, but let him always be a hard man, and work unrighteousness, for behold, there is none that remembereth divine Odysseus of a people whose lord he was, and was gentle as a father. Howsoever, it is not that I grudge the lordly wooers their deeds of violence and the evil devices of their heart, for at the hazard of their own heads they violently devour the household of Odysseus, and say of him that he will come no more again. But I am indeed wroth with the rest of the people, to see how ye all sit thus speechless, and do not cry shame upon the wooers, and put them down, ye that are so many and they so few." And Leocritus, son of Eunar, answered him, saying, "Mentor infatuate, with thy wandering wits, what word hast thou spoken that callest upon them to put us down? Nay, it is a hard thing to fight about a feast, and what with men who are even more in number than you? Though Odysseus of Ithaca himself should come and were eager of heart to drive forth from the hall the lordly wooers that feast throughout his house, yet should his wife have no joy of his coming, though she yearns for him. But even there should he meet foul doom, if he fought with those that outnumbered him. So thou hast not spoken aright. But as for the people, come now, scatter yourself, each one to his own lands, but Mentor and Halitherses will speed this man's voyage, for they are friends of his house from old. Yet, after all, methinks that long time he will abide and seek tidings in Ithaca, and never accomplish this voyage." Thus he spake, and in haste they broke up the assembly. So they were scattered, each one to his own dwelling, while the wooers departed to the house of divine Odysseus. Then Telemachus, going far apart to the shore of the sea, laved his hands in the grey sea water, and prayed unto Athene, saying, "Hear me, thou who yesterday didst come in thy godhead to our house, and badest me go in a ship across the misty seas, to seek tidings of the return of my father that is long gone. But all this my purpose do the Achaeans delay, and mainly the wooers in the naughtiness of their pride." So spake he in prayer, and Athene drew nigh him in the likeness of Mentor, in fashion and in voice, and she spake and hailed him in winged words. "Telemachus, even hereafter thou shalt not be craven or witless. If indeed thou hast a drop of thy father's blood and a portion of his spirit, such as one was he to fulfill both word and work. Nor, if this be so, shall thy voyage be vain or unfulfilled. But if thou art not the very seed of him and of Penelope, then I have no hope that thou wilt accomplish thy desire. For few children, truly, are like their father. Lo, the more part are worse, yet a few are better than their sire. But since thou shalt not even hereafter be craven or witless, nor hath the wisdom of Odysseus failed thee quite, so is there good hope of thine accomplishing this work. Wherefore now take no heed of the counsel or the purpose of the senseless wooers, for they are in no way wise or just, neither they aught of death and of black fate, which already is close upon them, that they are all to perish in one day. But the voyage on which thy heart is set shall not long be lacking to thee. So faithful a friend of thy father am I, who will furnish thee a swift ship, and myself be thy companion. But go thou to the house, and consort with the wooers, and make ready corn, and bestow all in vessels, the wine in jars and barley flour, the marrow of men in well-sewn skins. And I will lightly gather in the township a crew that offer themselves willingly. There are many ships, new and old, in secret Ithaca. Of thee I will choose out the best for thee, and we will quickly rig her and launch her on the broad deep." So spake Athene, daughter of Zeus, and Telemachus made no long tarrying. When he had heard the voice of the goddess, he went on his way toward the house, heavy at heart, and there he found the noble wooers in the halls, flaying goats and singeing wine in the court. And Antinous laughed out and went straight to Telemachus, and clasped his hand and spake and hailed him. Telemachus, proud of speech and unrestrained in fury, let no evil word any more be in thy heart, nor evil work, but let me see thee eat and drink as of old, and the Achaeans will make thee ready all things without fail, a ship and chosen oarsmen, that thou mayest come the quicker to fair Pylos, to seek tidings of thy noble father. Then wise Telemachus answered him, saying, Antinous, in no wise in your proud company can I sup in peace, and make merry with a quiet mind. It is a little thing, ye wooers, that in time past ye wasted many good things of my getting, while as yet I was a child. But now that I am a man grown, and learn the story from the lips of others, and my spirit waxeth within me, I will seek to let loose upon you evil fates, as I may, going either to Pylos for help, or abiding here in this township. Yea, I will go, nor vain shall the voyage be whereof I speak. Of passenger on another ship go I, for I am not to have a ship, nor oarsmen of mine own. So in your wisdom ye have thought it for the better. He spake, and snatched his hand from out of Antinous lightly, and all the while the wooers were busy feasting through the house, and though they mocked him and sharply taunted him, and thus would some proud youth speak. In very truth, Telemachus planneth our destruction. He will bring a rescue either from sandy Pylos, or even it may be from Sparta, so terribly is he set on slaying us. Or else he will go to Ephyra, a fruitful land, to fetch a poisonous drug, that he may cast it into the bowl and make an end to all of us. And another proud youth would say, Who knows but that he himself, if he goes hence on the hollow ship, may perish, wandering far from his friends, even as Odysseus? So should we have yet more ado, for then we must divide among us all his substance, and moreover give the house to his mother to possess it, and to him whosoever should wed her. So spake they, but he stepped down into the vaulted treasure chamber of his father, a spacious room, where gold and bronze lay piled, and raiment in coffers, and fragrant olive oil in plenty, and there stood casks of sweet wine and old, full of the unmixed drink divine, all orderly ranged by the wall, ready if ever Odysseus should come home, albeit after travail and much pain, and the close-fitted doors and the folding doors were shut, and night and day there abode within a dame in charge, who guarded all in the fullness of her wisdom, Euryclea, daughter of Ops, son of Pisenor. Telemachus now called her into the chamber, and spake unto her, saying, Mother, come draw off for me sweet wine in jars, the choicest, next to that thou keepest mindful of ever of that ill-fated one Odysseus, of the seed of Zeus. If perchance he may come, I know not whence, having avoided death in the fates. So fill 12 jars, and close each with his lid, and pour me barley meal into well-sewn skins, and let there be 20 measures of the grain of bruised barley meal. Let none know this but thyself. As for these things, let them all be got together, for in the evening I will take them with me, at the time that my mother hath gone to her upper chamber, and turned her thoughts to sleep. Lo, to Sparta I go, and to sandy Pylos, to seek tidings of my dear father's return, if haply I may hear thereof. So spake he, and the good Nurse Euryclea wailed aloud, and making lament spake to him winged words. Ah, wherefore, dear child, hath such a thought arisen in thine heart? How shouldst thou fare over wide lands, thou that art an only child and well-beloved? As for him, he hath perished, Odysseus of the seed of Zeus, far from his own country, in the land of strangers, and yonder men, so soon as thou art gone, will devise mischief against thee thereafter, that thou mayest perish by guile. And they will share among them all this wealth of thine. Nay, abide here, settled on thine own lands, and thou hast no need upon the deep unharvested to suffer evil and go wandering. Then wise Telemachus answered her, saying, Take heart, nurse, for lo, this my purpose came not but of a god, but swear to tell no word thereof to my dear mother, till at least it shall be the 11th or 12th day from hence, or till she miss me of herself, and hear of my departure, that so she may not mar her fair face with her tears. Thus he spake, and the old woman sware a great oath by the gods not to reveal it. But when she had sworn and done that oath, Straight away she drew off the wine for him in jars, and poured barley meal into well-sewn skins, and Telemachus departed to the house and consorted with the wooers. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, turned to other thoughts. In the likeness of Telemachus she went all through the city, and stood by each one of the men she spake her saying, and bade them gather at even by the swift ship. Furthermore, she craved a swift ship of Noemon, famous son of Phronius, and right gladly he promised it. Now the sun sank, and all the ways were darkened. Then at length she let drag the swift ship to the sea, and stored within it all such tackling as decked ships carry. And she moored it at the far end of the harbor, and the good company was gathered together, and the goddess cheered on all. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, turned to other thoughts. She went on her way to the house of divine Odysseus, and there she shed a sweet sleep upon the wooers, and made them distraught in their drinking, and cast the cups from their hands, and they arose up to go to rest throughout the city. Nor sat they yet a long while, for slumber was falling on their eyelids. Now grey-eyed Athene spake unto Telemachus, and called him from out of the fair-lying halls, taking the likeness of Mentor, both in fashion and in voice. Telemachus, thy goodly grieved companions are sitting already at their oars. It is thy dispatch they are awaiting. Nay then, let us go, that we delay them not long from the way. Therewith Pallas Athene led the way quickly, and he followed hard in the steps of the goddess. Now when they came down to the ship and to the sea, they found the long-haired youths of the company on the shore, and the mighty prince Telemachus spake among them. Come hither, friends, let us carry the corn on board, for all is now together in the room, and my mother knows naught thereof, nor any of the maidens of the house. One woman only heard my saying. Thus he spake and led the way, and they went with him, and they brought all and stowed it in the decked ship, according to the word of the dear son of Odysseus. Then Telemachus climbed the ship, and Athene went before him, and behold, she sat down in the stern, and near her sat Telemachus. And the men loosed in hawsers, and climbed on board themselves, and sat down upon the benches. And grey-eyed Athene sent them a favourable gale, and a fresh west wind, singing over the wine-dark sea. And Telemachus called unto his company, and bade them lay hands on the tackling, and they hearkened to his call. So they raised the mast of pine tree, and set it in the hole of the crossplank, and made it fast with forestays, and hauled up the white sails with twisted ropes of oxhide. And the wind filled the belly of the sail, and the dark waves seethed loudly round the stem of the running ship. And she fleeted over the wave, accomplishing her path. Then they made all fast in the ship's swift black ship, and set the mixing bowls brimmed with wine, and poured drink offering to the deathless gods that are from everlasting, and in chief to the grey-eyed daughter of Zeus. So all night long and through the dawn the ship cleft her way. That brings us to the end of Book 2. And we see Telemachus sort of addressing the crowd, trying to talk to the gathering of elders and the council at Ithaca, and pretty much shut down. And all the while, there's omens going on, and like gods and the wise elders that are all trying to say, you know what, maybe we should listen to this kid. And meanwhile, everyone else just shuts it down. And we get a little bit of a recurring theme here. We saw a lot of it when we were reading Oedipus, but ignoring the prophecy, ignoring the seers, and shouting them down and full of pride, I'm sure that will go wonderfully for the wooers, for the suitors. Nothing ever went wrong by ignoring an omen, right? At least not in anything Greek. Nothing bad will ever happen, certainly not. It's just good to see that it's people that we are already led to dislike that are having their prideful moment. Alright, it is about 9. Let's take a couple minutes. I'll stretch my legs, top up my wine, and we will be back in just a few minutes. We should be able to get another 1 or 2 chapters in tonight. Probably. This next one's a little bit longer. At least 1, maybe 2. We'll see. So, be back in just a bit, guys. Alright. Mr. Simba has decided to take a nap on my desk, so he'll be joining us for now. Actually, I think I need to resize him shortly. Little man's getting big. I think he's almost as long as Zoe these days, probably just a little bit more. He just needs to start filling out. He's starting to get his grown-up coat, but he's getting to be a big boy already. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump back into it. We've got a fair bit more reading in us tonight. Yeah, definitely. Ignoring the fates, ignoring the omens and seers, that never goes poorly in Greeks. If I can get them to sit still long enough together, I'll see if I can get a picture of both of them. But he likes to wrestle, and she likes to just let him do whatever he wants. So, getting pictures is difficult. So, alright, let's get back into it. We've got book 3 now. Nestor entertains Telemachus at Pylos, and tells him how the Greeks departed from Troy, and sends him for further information to Sparta. Now the sun arose and left the lovely mere, speeding to the brazen heaven to give light to the immortals and to mortal men on the earth, the grain giver, and they reached Pylos, the established castle of Neleus. There the people were doing sacrifice on the seashore, slaying black bulls without spot to the dark-haired god, the shaker of the earth. 9 companies were there, and 500 men sat in each. And in every company they held 9 bulls ready to hand, just as they had tasted the inner parts, and were burning the slices of the thighs on the altar to the god. The others were bearing straight to land, and brailed up the sails of the gallant ship, and moored her, and themselves came forth. And Telemachus too stepped forth from the ship, and Athene led the way. And the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, spake first to him, saying, Telemachus, thou needst not now be abashed, no, not one whit. For to this very end didst thou sail over the deep, that thou mightest hear tidings of thy father, even where the earth closed over him, and what manner of death he met. But come now, go straight to Nestor, tamer of horses. Let us learn what counsel he hath in the secret of his heart, and beseech him thyself, that he may give unerring answer, and that he will not lie to thee, for he is very wise. The wise Telemachus answered, saying, Mentor, and how shall I go? How shall I greet him? I, who am untried in words of wisdom. Moreover, a young man may well be abashed to question an elder. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, spake to him again. Telemachus, thou shalt bethink thee of somewhat in thine own breast, and somewhat the god will give thee to say. For thou, methinks, of all men, wert not born and bred without the will of the gods. So spake Pallas Athene, and led the way quickly, and he followed hard in the steps of the goddess. And they came to the gathering in the season of the men of Pylos. There was Nestor, seated with his sons, and round him his company making ready the feast, and roasting some of the flesh and spitting other. Now, when they saw the strangers, they went all together, and clasped their hands in welcome, and would have them sit down. First, Pisistratus, son of Nestor, drew nigh, and took the hands of each, and made them to sit down at the feast on soft fleeces upon the sea sand, beside his brother Thrasymedes and his father. And he gave them messes of the inner meat, and poured wine into a golden cup, and pledging her, he spake unto Pallas Athene, daughter of Zeus, lord of the Aegis. Pray now, my guest, to the Lord of Poseidon, even as it is his feast whereon ye have chanced in coming hither, and when thou hast made drink offering and prayed, as is due, give thy friend also the cup of honeyed wine, to make offering thereof, inasmuch as he too, methinks, prayeth to the deathless gods. For all men stand in need of the gods. Howbeit he is younger, and mine own equal in years, therefore to thee first will I give the golden chalice. Therewith he placed in her hand the cup of sweet wine, and Athene rejoiced in the wisdom and judgment of the man, and that he had given to her first the chalice of gold. And straightway she prayed, and that instantly, to the Lord Poseidon. Hear me, Poseidon, girdler of the earth, and grudge not the fulfillment of this labor in answer to our prayer. To Nestor first, and to his sons vouchsafe renown, and thereafter grant to all the people of Pylos a gracious recompense for this splendid hecatomb. Grant, moreover, that Telemachus and I may return, And when we have accomplished that, for which we came hither with our swift black ship. Now, as she prayed on this wise, herself the while was fulfilling the prayer. And she gave Telemachus the fair two-handled cup, and in a like manner prayed the dear son of Odysseus. Then, when the others had roasted the outer parts and drawn them off the spits, they divided the messes and shared the glorious feast. But when they had put from them the desire of meat and drink, Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, first spake among them. Now is the better time to inquire, and ask of the strangers who they are, now that they have had their delight of food. Strangers, who are ye? Whence sail ye over the wet ways? On some trading enterprise? Or at adventure do ye rove? Even as sea robbers over the brine, for they wander at hazard of their own lives, bringing the bale to alien men. Then wise Telemachus answered him, and spake with courage, for Athene herself had put boldness in his heart, that he might ask about his father who was afar, and that he might be had in good report among men. Nestor, son of Neleus, great glory of the Achaeans, thou askest whence we are, and I will surely tell thee all. We have come forth out of Ithaca, that is below Neon, and this our quest whereof I speak is a matter of mine own, and not of the commonweal. I follow after the far-spread rumor of my father, if haply I may hear thereof, even of the goodly steadfast Odysseus, who, upon a time, men say, fought by thy side and sacked the city of the Trojans. For of all the others, as many as warred with the Trojans, we hear tidings, and where each one fell by a pitiful death, but even the death of this man Cronion hath left untold. For none can surely declare the place where he hath perished, whether he was smitten by foemen in the mainland, or lost upon the deep among the waves of Amphitrite. For now am I come hither to thy knees, if perchance thou art willing to tell me of this pitiful death, as one that saw it with thine own eyes, or heard the story from some other wanderer, for his mother bare him to exceeding sorrow, and speak me no soft words in ruth or pity, but tell me plainly what sight thou didst get of them. Ah, I pray thee, if ever at all my father, noble Odysseus, made promise to thee of word or work, and fulfilled the same in the land of the Trojans, where ye Achaeans suffered affliction, these things I pray thee, now remember, and tell me truth. Then Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, answered him, My friend, since thou hast brought sorrow back to mind, behold, this is the story of the woe which we endured in that land. We, sons of the Achaeans, unrestrained in fury, and of all that we bore in wanderings after spoil, sailing with our ships over the misty deep, wheresoever Achilles led, and of all our war round the mighty burg of King Priam. Yea, and there the best of us were slain. There lies valiant Aias, and there Achilles, and there Patroclus, the peer of the gods in council, and there my own dear son, strong and noble Antilochus, that excelled in speed of foot and in the fight, and many other ills we have suffered beside these, who of mortal men could tell the tale, nay, none. Though thou wert to abide here for 5 years, aye, and for 6, and ask of all the ills which the goodly Achaeans then endured, ere all was told, thou wouldst be weary and turn to thine own country. For 9 whole years we were busy about them, devising their ruin with all manner of craft, and scarce did Cronion bring it to pass. There never a man durst match with him in wisdom, for goodly Odysseus very far outdid the rest in all manner of craft. Odysseus, thy father, if indeed thou art his son, amazement comes upon me as I look at thee, for verily thy speech is like unto his. None would say that a younger man would speak so like an elder. Now look, you, all the while that myself and the goodly Odysseus were there, we never spake diversely, either in the assembly or in the council, but always we were of one mind, and advised the Argives with understanding and sound counsel how all might be for the very best. But after we had sacked the steep city of Priam, and had departed in our ships, and a god had scattered the Achaeans, even then did Zeus devise in his heart a pitiful returning for the Argives, for in no wise were they all discreet or just. Wherefore many of them met with an ill faring by reason of the deadly wrath of the Graeae goddess, the daughter of the mighty sire, who set debate between the 2 sons of Atreus, and they twain called to the gathering of the host all the Achaeans, recklessly and out of order, against the going down of the sun. And lo, the sons of the Achaeans came heavy with wine. And the Atreides spake out, and told the reason wherefore they had assembled the host. Then verily Menelaus charged all the Achaeans to bethink them of returning over the broad back of the sea, but in no sort did he please Agamemnon, whose desire was to keep back the host, and to offer holy hecatombs, that so he might appease that dread wrath of Athene. Fool! For he knew not this, that she was never to be won, for the mind of the everlasting gods is not lightly turned to repentance. So these twain stood bandying hard words, but the godly grieved Achaeans sprang up with wondrous din, and twofold counsels found favor among them. So that one night we rested, thinking hard things against each other, for Zeus was fashioning for us a ruinous doom. But in the morning, we of the one part drew our ships to the fair salt sea, and put aboard our wealth, and the low-girdled Trojan women. Now, one half the people abode steadfastly there with Agamemnon, son of Atreus, shepherd of the host, and half of us embarked and drave to sea, and swiftly the ship sailed, for God made smooth the sea and with the depth thereof. And when we came to Tenedos, we did sacrifice to the gods, being eager for the homeward way. But Zeus did not yet purpose our returning. Nay, hard was he, that roused once more an evil strife among us. Then some turned back their curved ships, and went their way. Even the company of Odysseus, the wise and manifold in council, once again showing a favor to Agamemnon, son of Atreus. But I fled on with the squadron that followed me, for I knew how now the god imagined mischief. And the warlike son of Tydeus fled and roused his men thereto, and late in our track came Menelaus of the fair hair, who found us in Lesbos, considering that about the long voyage, whether we should go seaward of craggy Chios, by the isle of Syria, keeping the isle upon our left, or inside Chios, past windy Mimas. So we asked the god to show us a sign, and a sign he declared to us, and bade us cleave a path across the middle sea to Euboea, that we might flee the swiftest way from sorrow. And a shrill wind arose and blew, and the ships ran most fleetly over the teeming ways, and in the night they touched Eurystus. So there we sacrificed many thighs of bulls to Poseidon, for joy that we had measured out so great a stretch of sea. It was the fourth day when the company of Diomede, son of Tydeus, tamer of horses, moored their gallant ships at Argos. But I held on for Pylos, and the breeze was never quenched from the hour that the god sent it forth to blow. Even so I came, dear child, without tidings, nor know I aught of those others, which of the Achaeans were saved and which were lost, but all that I hear tell of as I sit in our halls, thou shalt learn as is meet, and I will hide nothing from thee. Safely, they say, came the Myrmidons, the wild spearsmen, whom the famous son of high-souled Achilles led, and safely Philoctetes, the glorious son of Poeas, and Idomeneus brought all his company to Crete, all that escaped the war, and from him the sea gat none. And of the son of Atreus, even yourselves have heard, far apart though ye dwell, how he came, and how Aegisthus devised his evil end. But verily, he himself paid a terrible reckoning. So good a thing it is that a son of the dead should still be left, even as that son also took vengeance on the slayer of his father, guileful Aegisthus, who slew his famous sire. And thou too, my friend, for I see thee very comely and tall. Be valiant, that even men unborn may praise thee. That was all one paragraph. Having flashbacks to Thoreau here. Ay, ay, ay. And wise Telemachus answered him, and said, Nestor, son of Neleus, great glory of the Achaeans, verily and indeed he avenged himself, and the Achaeans shall noise his fame abroad, that even those may hear who are yet for to be. Oh, that the gods would clothe me with such strength as this, that I might take vengeance on the wooers for their cruel transgression, who wantonly devise against me infatuate deeds. But the gods have woven for me the web of no such weal, for me or for my sire. But now I must in any wise endure it. Yeah, translation is funny like that. And that was all just a guy talking. Just a speech, telling a story. So dialogue sometimes happens like that. Sometimes you let the old man talk, and he doesn't stop talking. And it'd be rude to interrupt him. Come on. Then Nestor of Gerenia, Lord of Chariots, made answer, Dear friend, seeing thou dost call these things to my remembrance, and speak thereof, they tell me that many wooers for thy mother's hand plan mischief within the halls in thy despite. Say, dost thou willingly submit thee to oppression, or do the people through the land hate thee, obedient to the voice of a god? Who knows but that Odysseus may some day come and requite their violence, either himself alone, or all the host of Achaeans with him? Ah, if but grey-eyed Athene were inclined to love thee, as once she cared exceedingly for the renowned Odysseus in the land of the Trojans, where we Achaeans were sore afflicted. For never yet have I seen the gods show forth such manifest love, as then did Pallas Athene standing manifest by him. If she should be pleased so to love thee, and to care for thee, then might certain of them clean forget their marriage. See? Yeah, no bias, no bias. Just because we're rambling old men does not mean that we're... you know what? No, yeah, I'm a little biased. Let me ramble. That's what the show's all about, right? The whole channel is just me rambling. Let me ramble, damn it. And wise Telemachus answered him, saying, Old man, in no wise methinks shall this word be accomplished. This is a hard saying of thine. Awe comes over me. Not for my hopes shall this thing come to pass, not even if the gods so willed it. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, spake to him again, Telemachus, what word hath escaped the door of thy lips? Lightly might a god, if so he would, bring a man safe home even from afar. Rather myself would I have travailed in much pain ere I came home and saw the day of my returning, than come back and straightway perish on my own hearthstone. Even as Agamemnon perished by guile at the hands of his own wife and of Odysseus, but lo you, death, which is common to all, the very gods cannot avert even from the man they love. When the ruinous doom shall bring him low of death that lays men at their length. And wise Telemachus answered her, saying, Mentor, no longer let us tell of these things, sorrowful though we be. There is none assurance any more of his return. But already have the deathless gods devised for him death and black fate. But now I would question Nestor, and ask him of another matter, as one who above all men knows judgment and wisdom. For thrice, men say, he hath been king through generations of men, yea, like an immortal he seems to me to look upon. Nestor, son of Neleus, now tell me true. How died the son of Atreus, Agamemnon of the wide domain? Where was Menelaus? What death did crafty Aegisthus plan for him? In that he killed a man more valiant far than he? Or was Menelaus not in Argos of Achaia, but wandering elsewhere among men, and that other took heart and slew Agamemnon? Then Nestor of Gerenia, Lord of Chariots, answered him, Yea, now, my child, I will tell thee the whole truth. Verily, thou guessest aright, even of thyself, how things would have fallen out, if Menelaus of the fair hair, the son of Atreus, when he came back from Troy, had found Aegisthus yet alive in the halls. Then, even in his death, would they not have heaped the piled earth over him, but dogs and fowls of the air would have devoured him as he lay on the plain far from the town. Nor would any of the Achaean women have bewailed him, so dread was the deed he contrived. Now we sat in leaguer there, achieving many adventures. But he, the while in peace in the heart of Argos, the pastureland of horses, spake ofttimes, tempting her, to the wife of Agamemnon. Verily, at the first, she would none of the foul deed, the fair Clytemnestra, for she had a good understanding. Moreover, there was with her a minstrel, whom the son of Atreus straitly charged as he went to Troy to have a care of his wife. But when at last the doom of the gods bound her to her ruin, then did Aegisthus carry the minstrel to a lonely isle, and left him there to be the prey and spoil of birds, while as for her, he led her to his house, a willing lover with a willing lady. And he burnt many thigh slices upon the holy altars of the gods, and hung up many offerings, woven work in gold, seeing that he had accomplished a great deed beyond all hope. Now we, I say, were sailing together on our way from Troy, the son of Atreus and I, as loving friends. But when we had reached holy Sunium, the headland of Athens, where Phobos Apollo slew the pilot of Menelaus with the visitation of his gentle shafts. As he held between his hands the rudder of the running ship, even Phrontis, son of Onotor, who excelled the tribes of men in piloting a ship, whenso the storm winds were hurrying by, thus was Menelaus holden there, though eager for the way, till he might bury his friend and pay the last rites over him. But when he, in his turn, faring over the wine-dark sea in hollow ships, reached, in swift course, the steep mount of Malea, then it was that Zeus, of the far-born voice, devised a hateful path, and shed upon them the breath of the shrill winds, and great, swelling waves arose like unto mountains, there sundered for the fleet in twain, and part thereof he brought nigh to Crete, where the Sidonians dwelt about the streams in Iardanus. Now there is a certain cliff, smooth and sheer, towards the sea, on the border of Gorton, in the misty deep, where the southwest wind drives a great wave against the left headland, towards Phaestus, and a little rock keeps back the mighty water. Thither came one part of the fleet, and the men scarce escaped destruction, but the ships were broken by the waves against the rock, gathering much livelihood and gold. While those other 5 dark-prowed ships the wind and the water bare and brought nigh to Egypt. Thus Menelaus, gathering much livelihood and gold, was wandering there with his ships among men of strange speech, and even then Aegisthus planned that pitiful work at home. For 7 years he ruled over Mycenae, rich in gold, after he slew the son of Atreus, and the people were subdued unto him. But in the 8th year came upon him goodly Orestes, back from Athens to be his bane, and slew the slayer of his father, guileful Aegisthus, who killed his famous sire. Now when he had slain him, he made a funeral feast to the Argives over his hateful mother, and over the craven Aegisthus. And on the selfsame day there came to him Menelaus of the loud war cry, bringing much treasure, even all the freight of his ships. So thou, my friend, wander not long far away from home, leaving thy substance behind thee, and men in thy house so wanton, lest they divide and utterly devour all thy wealth, and thou shalt have gone on a vain journey. Rather I bid and command thee to go to Menelaus, for he hath lately come from a strange country, from the land of men whence none would hope in his heart to return, whom once the storms have driven wandering into so wide a sea, thence not even the birds can make their way in the space of 1 year. So great a sea it is, and terrible. But go now, with thy ship, and with thy company. Or if thou hast a mind to fare by land, I have a chariot and horses at thy service, yea, and my sons to do thy will. Who will be thy guides to goodly Lacedaemon? Where is Menelaus of the fair hair? Do thou thyself entreat him, that he may give thee unerring answer. He will not lie to thee, for he is very wise. Thus he spake, and the sun went down, and darkness came on. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, spake among them, saying, Yea, old man, thou hast told all this thy tale right. But come, cut up the tongues of the victims, and mix the wine, that we may pour forth before Poseidon and the other deathless gods, and so may bethink us of sleep, for it is the hour for sleep. For already has the light gone beneath the west, and it is not seemly to sit long at a banquet of the gods, but to be going home. So spake the daughter of Zeus, and they hearkened to her voice, and the henchmen poured water over their hands, and pages crowned the mixing bowls with drink, and served out the wine to all, after they had first poured for libation into each cup in turn, and they cast the tongues upon the fire, and stood up and poured the drink offering thereon. But when they had poured forth and had drunken to their heart's content, Athene and godlike Telemachus were both set on returning to the hollow ship. But Nestor would have stayed them, and accosted them, saying, Zeus forfend it, and all the other deathless gods, that ye should depart from my house to the swift ship, as from the dwelling of one that is utterly without raiment, or a needy man, who hath not rugs or blankets many in his house, whereupon to sleep softly, he or his guests. Say, nay, not so. I have rugs and fair blankets by me. Never, methinks, shall the dear son of this man, even of Odysseus, lay him down upon the ship's deck, while as yet I am alive, and my children after me are left in my hall to entertain strangers, whoso may chance to come to my house. Then the goddess, grey-eyed Athene, spake to him again. Yea, herein hast thou spoken aright, dear father, and Telemachus may well obey thee. For before all things this is meet. Behold, he shall now depart with thee, that he may sleep in thy halls. As for me, I will go back, I will go to the black ship, that I may cheer my company, and tell them all, for I avow me to be the one elder among them. Those others are but younger men, who follow for love of him, all of them of like age with the high-souled Telemachus. There will I lay me down by the black hollow ship this night, but in the morning I will go to the Cauconians high of heart, where somewhat of mine is owing to me no small debt nor of yesterday. But do thou send this man upon his way with thy chariot and thy son, since he hath come to thy house, and give him horses the lightest of foot and chief in strength. Therewith grey-eyed Athene departed in the semblance of a sea-eagle, and amazement fell on all that saw it, and the old man marveled when his eyes beheld it. And he took the hand of Telemachus, and spake and hailed him, My friend, methinks that thou wilt in no sort be a coward and a weakling, if indeed in thy youth the gods thus follow with thee and be thy guides. For truly, this is none other of those who keep the mansions of Olympus, save only the daughter of Zeus, the driver of the spoil, the maiden of Trito born, she that honoured thy good father too among the Argives. Nay, be gracious, queen, and vouchsafe a goodly fame to me, even to me and to my sons and to my wife revered. And I in turn will sacrifice to thee a yearling heifer, broad of brow, unbroken, which man never yet hath led beneath the yoke. Such as one will I offer to thee, and gild her horns with gold. Even so he spake in prayer, and Pallas Athene heard him. Then Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, led them, even his sons and the husbands of his daughters, to his own fair house. But when they had reached the prince's famous halls, they sat down all orderly on seats and high chairs. And when they were come, the old man mixed well for them a bowl of sweet wine, which now, in the 11th year from the vintaging, the housewife opened, and unloosed the string that fastened the lid. The old man let mix a bowl thereof, and prayed instantly to Athene, as he poured forth before her, even to the daughter of Zeus, lord of the Aegis. But after they had poured forth and had drunken to their heart's content, these went each one to his own house to lie down to rest. But Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, would needs have Telemachus, son of divine Odysseus, to sleep there on a jointed bedstead beneath the echoing gallery, and by him Peisistratus of the good ashen spear, leader of men, who alone of his sons was yet unwed in his halls. As for him, he slept within the inmost chamber of the lofty house, and the lady his wife arrayed for him bedstead and bedding. So soon as early dawn shone forth, the rosy-fingered Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, gat him up from his bed, and went forth and sat him down upon the smooth stones, which were his lofty doors, all polished white and glistening, whereon Neleus sat of old in council, the peer of the gods. Howbeit, stricken by fate, he had ere now gone down to the house of Hades. And today, Nestor of Gerenia, in his turn, sat thereon, warder of the Achaeans, with his staff in his hands, and about him his sons were gathered and come together, issuing from their chambers, Echepharon of the Stratius, and Perseus and Aretus, and the godlike Thrasymedes, and sixth and last came to the hero Peisistratus. And they led godlike Telemachus, and set him by their side, and Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, spake first among them. Quickly, my dear children, accomplish my desire, that first of all the gods I may propitiate Athene, who came to me in visible presence to the rich feast of the god. Nay then, let one go to the plain for a heifer, that she may come as soon as may be, and that the neat herd may drive her. And let another go to the black ship of the high-souled Telemachus to bring all his company, and let him leave 2 men only. And let one again bid Laerces, the goldsmith, to come hither, that he may gild the horns of the heifer. And ye others, abide ye here together, and speak to the handmaids and within, that they may make ready a banquet through our famous halls, and fetch seats and logs to set about the altar, and bring clear water. Thus he spake, and lo, they all hastened to the work. The heifer, she came from the field, and from the swift gallant ship came the company of great-hearted Telemachus. The smith came holding in his hands his tools, the instruments of his craft, anvil and hammer and well-made pincers, wherewith he wrought the gold. Athene too came to receive her sacrifice, and the old knight Nestor gave gold, and the other fashioned it skillfully, and gilded therewith the horns of the heifer, that the goddess might be glad at the sight of her fair offering. And Stratius and goodly Echephron led the heifer by the horns, and Aretus came forth from the chamber bearing water for the washing of hands in a basin of flowered work, and in the other hand he held the barley meal in a basket. And Thrasymedes, steadfast in battle, stood by, holding in his hand a sharp axe, ready to smite the heifer. And Perseus held the dish for the blood, and the old man Nestor, driver of chariots, performed the first rite of the washing of hands and the sprinkling of the meal. And he prayed instantly to Athene as he began the rite, casting into the fire the lock from the head of the victim. Now when they had prayed and tossed the sprinkled grain, straightway the son of Nestor, gallant Thrasymedes, stood by and struck the blow, and the axe severed the tendons of the neck and loosened the might of the heifer. And the women raised their cry, the daughters and the sons' wives, and the wife revered of Nestor, Eurydice, eldest of the daughters of Clemenus. And now they lifted the victim's head from the wide earth, and held it so, while Pisistratus, leader of men, cut the throat. And after the black blood had gushed forth and the life had left the bones, quickly they broke up the body, and anon cut slices from thighs all duly, and wrapped the same in the fat, folding them double, and laid raw flesh thereon. So that old man burnt them on the cleft wood, and poured over them the red wine, and by his side the young men held in their hands the 5-pronged forks. Now after that the thighs were quite consumed, and they had tasted the inner parts. They cut the rest up small, and spitted and roasted it, holding the sharp spit in their hands. Meanwhile she bathed Telemachus, even fair Polycast, and the youngest daughter of Nestor, son of Neleus. And after she had bathed him, and anointed him with olive oil, and cast him a goodly mantle and a doublet, he came forth from the bath in a fashion like the deathless gods. So he went and sat him down by Nestor, shepherd of the people. Now when they had roasted the outer flesh, and drawn it off the spits, they sat down and fell to feasting, and honorable men waited on them, pouring wine into the golden cups. But when they had put from them the desire of meat and drink, Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, spake first among them. Lo now, my sons, yoke for Telemachus horses with flowing mane, and lead them beneath the car, that he may get forward on his way. Even so he spake, and they gave good heed and hearkened, and quickly they yoked the swift horses beneath the chariot, and the dame that kept the stores placed therein corn and wine and dainties, such as princes eat, the fosterlings of Zeus. So Telemachus stepped up into the goodly car, and with him Pisistratus, son of Nestor, leader of men, likewise climbed the car and grasped the reins in his hands, and he touched the horses with the whip to start them. And nothing loth, the pair flew toward the plain, and left the steep citadel to Pylos. So all day long they swayed the yoke they bore upon their necks. Now the sun sank, and all the ways were darkened, and they came to Pherae, to the house of Diocles, son of Orsilochus, the child begotten of Alphaeus, where they rested for the night, and by them he set the entertainment of strangers. Now so soon as early dawn shone forth, the rosy-fingered, they yoked the horses, and mounted the inlaid car, and forth they drave away from the gateway, and the echoing gallery. And Pisistratus touched the horses with the whip to start them, and the pair flew onward nothing loth. So they came to the wheat-bearing plain, and thenceforth they pressed toward the end. In such wise did the swift horses speed forward. Now the sun sank, and all the ways were darkened. That brings us to the end of chapter 4, or book 3, I should say, not 4. Okay, the next one is quite a bit longer. We're looking at about 14 pages, where the previous were about half that. So, let's see. We might run long. Let's see. What time is it? Screw it. I'm enjoying this. Let's just keep going. And so, book 4. Telemachus' entertainment at Sparta, where Menelaus tells him what befell many of the old Greeks on their return. That Odysseus was with Calypso in the isle of Ogygia, as he was told by Proteus. And they came to Lacedaemon, lying low among the caverned hills, and drave to the dwelling of renowned Menelaus. Him they found giving a feast in his house to many friends of his kin. A feast for the wedding of his noble son and daughter. His daughter he was sending to the son of Achilles, cleaver of the ranks of men, for in Troy he first had promised and covenanted to give her, and now the gods were bringing about their marriage. So now he was speeding her on her way with chariot and horses, to the famous city of the Myrmidons, among whom her lord bare rule. And for his son he was bringing to his home the daughter of Elector out of Sparta, for his well-beloved son, strong Megapenthes, born of a slave woman. For the gods no more showed promise of seed to Helen. From that day that she bare a lovely child, Hermione, as fair as golden Aphrodite. So they were feasting through the great vaulted hall, the neighbors and the kinsmen of renowned Menelaus, making merry, and among them a divine minstrel was singing to the lyre. And as he began the song, 2 tumblers in the company whirled through the midst of them. Meanwhile, those twain, the hero Telemachus and the splendid son of Nestor, made halt at the entry of the gate, they and their horses. And the lord Aeneas came forth and saw them, the ready squire of renowned Menelaus, and he went through the palace to bear the tidings to the shepherd of the people, and standing near spake to him winged words. Menelaus, fosterling of Zeus, here are 2 strangers, whosoever they be, 2 men like to the lineage of great Zeus. Say, shall we loose their swift horses from under the yoke, or send them onward to some other host who shall receive them kindly? Then, in sore displeasure, spake to him Menelaus of the fair hair, Aeneas, son of Boethos, truly thou wert not a fool aforetime, but now for this once, like a child, thou talkest folly. Surely ourselves a much hospitable cheer of other men, ere we twain come hither, even if in time to come to Zeus haply give us rest from affliction. Nay, go unyoke the horses of the strangers, and as for the men, lead them forward to the house to feast with us. So spake he, and Aeneas hasted from the hall, and called the other ready squires to follow with him. So they loosed the sweating horses from beneath the yoke, and fastened them at the stalls of the horses, and threw beside them spelt, and therewith mixed with white barley, and tilted the chariot against the shining faces of the gateway, and led the men into the hall divine. And they beheld and marveled as they gazed throughout the palace of the king, the fosterling of Zeus. For there was a gleam, as it were, of sun or moon through lofty palaces of renowned Menelaus. But after they had gazed their fill, they went to the palace baths and bathed them. Now, when the maidens had bathed them and anointed them with olive oil, and cast about them thick cloaks and doublets, they sat on chairs by Menelaus, son of Atreus, and had a handmaid bear water for the hands in a goodly golden ewer, and poured it forth over a silver basin to wash withal. And to their side she drew a polished table, and a grave dame bare food, and sat it by them, and laid upon the board many dainties, giving freely of such things as she had by her. And a carver lifted and placed by them platters of divers kinds of flesh, and nigh them he set golden bowls. So Menelaus of the fair hair greeted the twain and spoke, Taste ye food and be glad, and thereafter when ye have supped, we will ask what men ye are, for the blood of your parents is not lost in you, but ye are of the line of men that are sceptred kings, the fosterlings of Zeus, for no churls could beget sons like you. So spake he, and took and set before them the fat ox chine roasted, which they had given him as his own mess by way of honor. And they stretched forth their hands upon the good cheer set before them. Now when they had put from them the desire of meat and drink, Telemachus spake to the son of Nestor, holding his head close to him, that those others might not hear. Son of Nestor, delight of my heart, mark the flashing of bronze through the echoing halls, and the flashing of gold and of amber and of silver and of ivory. Such like, methinks, is the court of Olympian Zeus within. For the world of things that are here, wonder comes over me as I look thereon. And as he spoke, Menelaus of the fair hair was ware of him, and uttering his voice spake to them winged words. Children dear, of a truth no one of mortal men may contend with Zeus, for his mansions and his treasures are everlasting. But of men there may be who will vie with me in treasure, or there may be none. Yea, for after many a woe and wanderings manifold, I brought my wealth home in ships, and in the 8th year came hither. I roamed after Cyprus and Phoenicia and Egypt, and reached the Ethiopians and Sidonians and Arembi and Libya, where lambs are horned from the birth. And there the ewes yean thrice within the full cycle of a year. There neither lord nor shepherd lacketh aught of cheese or flesh or of sweet milk, but ever the flocks yield store of milk continual. While I was yet roaming in those lands, gathering much livelihood, meantime another slew my brother privily, and unawares, by the guile of his accursed wife. Thus, look you, I have no joy of my lordship among these my possessions, and ye are like to have heard hereof from your fathers, whosoever they may be. For I have suffered much, and let a house go to ruin that was established fair, and had it in much choice substance. I would that I had but a third part of those my riches, and dwelt in my halls, and that those men were yet safe, who perished of old in the wide land of Troy, far from Argos, the pasture land of horses. Howbeit, though I bewail them all in sorrow oftentimes as I sit in our halls, a while, indeed, I satisfy my soul with lamentation. And then, again, I cease, for soon hath man enough of chill lamentation. Yet for them all I make no such dole, despite my grief, as for one only, who causes me to loathe both sleep and meat, when I think upon him. For no one of the Achaeans toiled so greatly as Odysseus toiled and adventured himself, but to him it was to be but labor and trouble, and to me grief ever comfortless for his sake, so long he is afar, nor know we aught, whether he be alive or dead. Yea, methinks they lament him, even that old Laertes, and the constant Penelope of Telemachus, whom he left child newborn in his house. So spake he, and in the heart of Telemachus he stirred a yearning to lament his father, and at his father's name he let a tear fall from his eyelids to the ground, and held up his purple mantle with both his hands before his eyes. And Menelaus marked him, and mused in his mind and his heart whether he should leave him to speak of his father, or first question him, and prove him in every word. While yet he pondered these things in his mind and in his heart, Helen came forth from her fragrant vaulted chamber, like Artemis of the golden arrows, and with her came Adrasta, and set for her the well-wrought chair, and Eclippa bare a rug of soft wool, and Philo bare a silver basket which Alcandra gave her, the wife of Polybus, who dwelt in Thebes of Egypt, where is the chiefest store of wealth in the houses. He gave 2 silver baths to Menelaus, and tripods twain. Add 10 talents of gold, and besides all this, his wife bestowed on Helen lovely gifts. A golden distaff did she give, and a silver basket with wheels beneath, and the rims thereof were finished with gold. This it was that the handmaid Philo bare and set beside her, filled with dressed yarn, and across it was laid a distaff charged with wool of violet blue. So Helen sat her down in the chair, and beneath was a footstool for the feet, and anon she spake to her lord and questioned him of each thing. Menelaus, fosterling of Zeus, know we now who these men avow themselves to be that have come under our roof? Shall I dissemble, or shall I speak the truth? Nay, I am minded to tell it. None, I say, have I ever yet seen so like another man or woman. Wonder comes over me as I look on him, as this man is like the son of great-hearted Odysseus, Telemachus, whom he left a newborn child in his house, when for the sake of me, shameless woman that I was, ye Achaeans came up under Troy with bold war in your hearts. And Menelaus of the fair hair answered her, saying, Now I too, lady, mark the likeness even as thou tracest it. For such as these were his feet, such his hands, and the glances of his eyes, and his head, and his hair withal. Yea, and even now I was speaking of Odysseus, as I remembered him, of all his woeful travail for my sake, when lo, he let fall a bitter tear beneath his brows, and held his purple cloak up before his eyes. And Pisistratus, son of Nestor, answered him, saying, Menelaus, son of Atreus, fosterling of Zeus, leader of the host, assuredly, this is the son of that very man, even as thou sayest. But he is of a sober wit, and thinketh it shame in his heart, as on his first night coming to make show of presumptuous words in the presence of thee, in whose voice we twain delight as in the voice of a god. Now Nestor of Gerenia, lord of chariots, sent me forth to be his guide on the way, for he desired to see thee, that thou mightest put into his heart some word or work. For a son hath many griefs in his halls when his father is away, if perchance he hath none to stand by him. Even so, it is now with Telemachus. His father is away, nor hath he others in the township to defend him from distress. And Menelaus of the fair hair answered him, and said, Lo now, in good truth there is come unto my house the son of a friend indeed. who for my sake endured many adventures, and I thought to welcome him on his coming more nobly than all the other Argives, if but Olympian Zeus of the far-born voice had vouchsafed us a return over the sea in our swift ships, that such a thing should be. And in Argos I would have given him a city to dwell in, and established for him a house, and brought him forth from Ithaca with his substance and his son and all his people, making one city desolate of those that lie around, and are in mine own domain. Then ofttimes would we have held converse here, and naught would have parted us, the welcoming and the welcomed, ere the black cloud of death overshadowed us. Howsoever, the God himself, methinks, must have been jealous hereof, who from that hapless man alone cut off his returning. So spake he, and in the hearts of all he stirred the desire of lamentation. She wept. Even Argive Helen, the daughter of Zeus, and Telemachus wept, and Menelaus, son of Atreus, nay, nor did the son of Nestor keep tearless eyes, for he bethought him in his heart of noble Antilochus, whom the glorious son of the bright dawn had slain. Thinking upon him, he spake winged words. Son of Atreus, the ancient Nestor in his own halls was ever wont to say that thou wert wise beyond man's wisdom, whensoever we made mention of thee, and asked one another concerning thee. And now, if it be possible, be persuaded by me, who for one have no pleasure in weeping at supper time. The newborn day will right soon be upon us. Not indeed that I deem it blame at all to weep for any mortal who hath died and met his fate. Lo, this is now the only due we pay to miserable men, to cut the hair and let the tear fall from the cheek. For I too have a brother dead, no wise the meanest of the Argives, and thou art like to have known him. For as for me, I never encountered him, never beheld him, but men say that Antilochus outdid all, being excellent in speed of foot and in the fight. And Menelaus of the fair hair answered him, and said, My friend, lo, thou hast said all that a wise man might say or do, yea, and an elder than thou. For from such a sire too thou art sprung, wherefore thou dost even speak wisely. Right, easily, even known is that man's seed, for whom Cronion weaves the skein of luck at bridal and at birth, even as now hath he granted prosperity to Nestor forever, for all his days, that he himself should grow into a smooth old age in his halls, and his sons moreover should be wise and the best of spearsmen. But we will cease now the weeping which was erewhile made, and let us once more bethink us of our supper, and let them pour water over our hands, and again in the morning there will be tales for Telemachus, and me to tell one to the other, even to the end. So spake he, and Asphalion poured water over their hands, the ready squire of renowned Menelaus, and they put forth their hands upon the good cheer spread before them. Then Helen, daughter of Zeus, turned to new thoughts. Presently she cast a drug into the wine whereof they drank, a drug to lull all pain and anger, and bring forgetfulness and of every sorrow. Whoso should drink a draught thereof, when it is mingled to the bowl, on that day he would let no tear fall down his cheeks, not though his mother and his father died, not though men slew his brother or dear son with the sword before his face, and his own eyes beheld it. Medicines of such virtue are and so helpful had the daughter of Zeus, which Polydamna, the wife of Thon, had given her, a woman of Egypt, where earth, the grain-giver, yields herbs in greatest plenty, many that are healing in the cup, and many baneful. There each man is a leech, skilled beyond all humankind, yea, for they are the race of Paeon. Now, after she had cast in the drug and bidden pour forth of the wine, she made answer once again, and spake unto her lord. Son of Atreus, Menelaus, fosterling of Zeus, and lo, ye sons of noble men, forasmuch as now to one and no to another, Zeus gives good and evil, for to him all things are possible. Now verily, sit ye down and feast in the halls, and take ye joy in the telling of tales, and I will tell you one that fits the time. Now all of them I could not tell or number, and so many as were the adventures of Odysseus of the hardy heart. But what a deed was this he wrought and dared in his hardiness! In the land of the Trojans, where the Achaeans suffered affliction, he subdued his body with unseemly stripes, and a sorry covering he cast about his shoulders, and in the fashion of a servant he went down into the wide-wayed city of the foemen, and hid himself in the guise of another, a beggar, though in no wise such an one as was he at the ships of the Achaeans. In this semblance he passed into the city of the Trojans, and they wist not who he was, and I alone knew him in that guise, and I kept questioning him, but in his subtlety he avoided me. But when at last I was about washing him, and anointing him with olive oil, and had put on him raiment, and sworn a great oath not to reveal Odysseus amid the Trojans, ere he reached the swift ships and the huts, even then he told me all the purpose of the Achaeans. And after slaying many of the Trojans with the longsword, he returned to the Argives, and brought back word again of all. Then the other Trojan women wept aloud, but my soul was glad, for already my heart was turned to go back again, even to my home, and now at the last I groaned for the blindness that Aphrodite gave me, when she led me thither away from mine own country, forsaking my child and my bridal chamber and my lord. They lacked not aught whether for wisdom or yet for beauty. Alright, that is actually a decent break. And we're pushing time about not even halfway through this chapter. If we tried to go over, it would be almost 20-30 minutes, and that's just not really cool. So let's go ahead and put a stop here. That's a decent break after Helen's quick storytelling and drugging of everyone at the party. Getting roofied by Helen of Troy. Yikes. So we'll resume here tomorrow and go from there. This is not nearly so long as Walden was. We're almost 20% in already, so probably there was a fair bit of intro, so we probably got through about 15% or so tonight. So this is probably going to be a 5-ish parter, 5 or 6. So probably take us about as long as it took us Walden, honestly, but we'll enjoy this one. But yeah, so far so good. This is all so far. The beginning is all the story of Telemachus, of Odysseus' son, and his going out to look for his father, and setting the stage for how bad things are back home. And we haven't yet seen anything from Odysseus' side yet, other than the gods saying that he's been held up. So we'll get to other points of view soon, but this is all like interesting in and of itself. And you're right, it felt so much longer in high school. I swear we read this for like 6 weeks. To be fair, we were getting like page assignments, not reading chapters at a time, and disassembling it and trying to find symbolism where there may not really even be much. But what do? You gotta teach kids how to think and read. That's kind of the whole point of the readings in high school anyway, right? Gotta get people trained to think properly, or to exercise the old noggin. So, alright, we will wrap up here for the night, and we will be back tomorrow for our next reading from this. It's been a while, I'm not sure of the exact pacing, but I think probably we're probably just a couple chapters from, oh man, yeah, whole units on Wine Dark Sea, for real. So, alright, let's have a great night. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone, for this start of a new series. This one should be fun, and will probably last us into next week, and we'll see what we have to see, shall we? So, alright, have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.